Hello and welcome to Somerville Neighborhood News. Today is May 20th. I'm Tarsha Stack.
And I'm Dennis Stack. Somerville Neighborhood News is a community service production of SCATV, put together by staff, interns and your neighbours. We bring you the news every 2 weeks right here on Channel 3 and also on our website, scatvsomerville.org/SNN, where you can read, watch and now listen to the news.
That's right, Dennis. We have the top stories written out. We have video segments and we also have audio podcasts. Post or share your favorite segments with friends and colleagues. Check out older segments that are relevant today. We want to make the news relevant and accessible to everyone in Somerville.
Correct. Tonight our reporters bring you stories about bike safety, the Somerville High School crew team and plans for the community path.
And we'll get the latest news on the Union Square redevelopment. We end with an interview with Wig Zamor of the Union Square Citizens Advisory Committee.
But first, here's a look at some of the news and events around town. The spring ResiStat meetings have started up. Go to your ward meeting to share your concerns with your alderman and the mayor. Check out a complete list of meetings on the blog at somervilleresistat.blogspot.com.
Here's some news related to one of our stories from 2013. Last week, Mayor Joe Cotitone joined other elected officials and members of immigrant and civil rights groups at the State House to call for an end to the Secure Communities program.
And what's that?
It's a law that was supposed to make communities more safe, but it has a lot of negative effects. For one thing, it drives a wedge between immigrant communities and the police. That's why Mayor Cotitone and other officials oppose it. To learn more, check out our newscast on the Trust Act from last fall. It's posted on page 2 of the archives at SCATV's somerville.org/SNN.
Here's another important story. Remember we mentioned that the new youth football league got a kind of a loan from the city's treasury, even though the aldermen were against it? Well, according to the Somerville Journal last week, Recreation Director Jim Halloran told the aldermen that a long-awaited donation from former Somerville High School football player goes there Sherry Luce would be less than expected.
Yes, Sherry Luce, who plays for the Indianapolis Colts, will be only sending $50,000. That means the city's taxpayers will end up paying $14,000 to support the new league. Aldermen are concerned. Read more in your local newspapers.
You're invited to this year's Memorial Day Parade. It starts with the National Anthem at City Hall at 12:55 p.m. on Sunday, May 25th. 76 organizations will be in the parade. You can be too. Come in period costumes.
Well, I hope there are 76 trombones there, Dennis.
I hope so too.
Here's some good news for the city. An amendment sponsored by Representative Denise Provo that prevents ethanol from being transported by rail through the city was finally adopted this month. Provo and others have been working on that for a long time.
I'm glad they're keeping our city safe. Now let's go to the news. The MBTA and its contractor were in town last week to explain how the new community path will look and feel.
That's right, Dennis. The room was packed with people who lobbied for years to get the path built. When it's finished, it will be possible to ride from downtown Boston out to Bedford.
I mean, this is exciting, you know. It's the path is now newly going to be funded as part of the Green Line Extension project. The Friends of the Community Path has been around for a long time. We started in 2001. And tonight is the first design meeting since that news announcement has happened.
It's taken a lot of listening, and I think we did listen to the crowds. I went back to the Secretary of Transportation, and I give a lot of kudos to MassDOT and MBTA to incorporate the design and construction of the path.
Well, the big deal for anybody in Somerville is when this is built, you'll be able to walk or bicycle or whatever non-motorized means from almost anywhere in Somerville all the way to Cambridge and then to downtown Boston on a multi-purpose trail, not with cars, not with traffic. And right now the roads to get into Boston for cyclists or even pedestrians, in some cases where there's not good sidewalks, is not always that nice.
You saw before, it looks pretty steep, but doesn't look near as steep on here. It's, like I say, it's under 5% everywhere.
I think there are a lot of people responsible, the mayor, the governor, the secretary of transportation, all the rest of the advocates behind us, the MBTA, Mass DOT. So I think everybody together just realized with such a great project, it has to be done.
And the path is not just for cyclists. It's certainly exciting. It's been a dozen years in the making. I hope it doesn't take another dozen to get built.
I hope so too. Next, we head over to the Mystic River, where students from Somerville and Everett are part of a crew team. The kids head out every afternoon, rain or shine.
I just thought it would be a fun sport, and it seemed a lot more fun than the other ones.
Roll down to waist and row. Roll away from the dog.
The thing I love the most is being out in the water.
In 2003, they founded the teams for Somerville High School and Malden High School. Rowing tends to have an elitist sport mindset to everyone. They wanted to break that down and break those barriers down and bring diversity to the sport. We're noticing that Somerville, the economic makeup for Somerville High School, we're up to, I think it's 70% around free or reduced lunch. And that mimics a lot of the communities in the area. And these kids that we bring down to the river would have no access to something like this if it wasn't for us. And the moving company, their donation allows us to do that for them. The schools do support, they pay the stipends for the coaches, but our support is we provide the equipment. The hulls they row in, the launches, gas, oars, the rowing machines. We've seen a lot of good things come out of the program. We've seen C students become A students. And we think that the factor in that is not just that the confidence that's built on the water, that these kids come out and they've never been exposed to anything like this, and they found that they can do this through hard work. And they're exposed to the ultimate team sport, which is rowing. Every other sport is a team sport, basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever you want to do. But in rowing, if you're 8 guys or 8 girls in a boat and you want to go somewhere, you have to work together.
It feels like you're in sync with everybody and you're trying your hardest out there, pushing it. In crew, you don't stand out. It's your team that stands out, your boat. It's not like any individual is more important than anybody else. Everyone is a team, everyone's equal.
Somerville's really diverse, and it's been really nice because when we go up to, say, we'll go to a big regatta at States or something, there's a bunch of prep school kids and they all just are very rich, and because crew is an expensive sport. We just have one of the most colorful racially teams there.
They've really taken to it. The leadership that comes out, the understanding of what it is to be a part of a team, how these kids develop and form a group. And that's where we found out a lot of the kids that come down to row are not baseball players or football players or basketball players. They're kids that want to do something, but it's different, and they're not part of any group. And that confidence also, they're part of a group. Now they have a support system of other kids like them.
The mission of the club is bringing rowing to underserved communities, and to help make that mission a reality and to bring rowing to all these kids at Somerville it's very rewarding.
All right, so ready? Attention.
Set the boat up, guys.
Row.
They're a great group, every one of them a little bit different, every one of them unique, and every one of them a shining star.
Watch the side. Roll the waist, ready, and roll.
Oh, I love it, just feeling the boat and then the wind.
Together.
It's very nice to feel one with the water. It's very team-based. It's like, and just feel that you're moving the boat yourself. It's all manpower. just feels really nice.
That program is made possible thanks to Gentle Giant Moving and the city. The kids don't pay a dime.
I'm glad lots of children get the opportunity. Now we get out of boats and onto bikes. More people than ever are riding bikes in the city these days. That's good news, but it also brings challenges.
The warm weather is back and so are the bikes. It's a welcome sign of spring, but some people, like Union Square resident Greg Hill, are worried that not everyone knows the rules.
Sidewalk cycling has been an ongoing problem in the business districts, and the city has not really come to grips with it. Well, I've been documenting the sidewalk cyclists in the squares, predominantly Union Square and Davis Square, for almost 3 years now.
Riding on sidewalks is illegal in the 7 business districts. When bikers violate this law, it can be dangerous for pedestrians, especially the elderly.
What is really needed is an extensive, multilingual, far-reaching bicycle/pedestrian education program so that all cyclists in the city will know what the rules of the road and the sidewalk are. That way, making it, good for cyclists, pedestrians, and motorists.
City Hall has a public safety campaign focusing on education, enforcement, and street design.
Safety concern is a mix. It is certainly partially education, making sure that everybody knows what the rules are so that they can use our streets in the correct fashion. So we do make sure to cover all areas of the city and try to talk to as many people as we can, as well as distribute materials like maps and the posters. So getting the word out as much as we can.
But is it enough? Captain Carabino is the police department's liaison to the Bike Safety Committee.
We're out there right now to try to educate people. I am out there just about every morning, and I'm actually writing tickets. I just want people to be safe, and we can be out there to educate them. I think we need more bicycle police officers out there to show the public that we're there and also enforce the laws. Drivers sometimes don't respect bicyclists, and we're trying to change that as well. And to drive in the bike lane is a violation, and we are ticketing motorists for doing that. So we want the cars to stay in their space, and the bicyclists hopefully stay in the bike lane. However, it's not required that a bicyclist stay in that lane. They can come out into traffic, and it's incumbent upon the motorist to yield to the bicyclist.
We do get a lot of complaints about cyclists going through red lights, and typically this happens at places where they will often use, say, the pedestrian signal because they feel safer going through on the pedestrian signal, or maybe they don't know that that's not legal, and so we're trying to reach out to them via various means to make sure they know that red light means red and it's the same rules for the same roads. It's our intent that the three-pronged approach will reach as many people as we possibly can, whether it's through enforcement or education or simply changing how a street works. Having more posters, more outreach is a great idea, and that's something we're always looking to do. Having them in other languages, definitely also a good idea. There is always sort of a push to reach those people who we aren't currently reaching.
On any given day, it is not difficult to find cyclists and drivers breaking the laws. An increase in bikes is beneficial to both physical health and the environment. However, more bikes means we need more education and enforcement to keep our streets safe for drivers, pedestrians, and bikers. For Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Justin Page.
Somerville residents aren't the only ones to recognize the need for more bike safety education. In fact, the Massachusetts Secretary of Transportation just launched a bike and pedestrian safety video contest, and he did it right here in Somerville last week.
I'm here today to announce an interesting program project where we're going to be asking students across the state, you too as well, and I expect Somerville, you're always great, so you better be stepping up, with innovative safety videos to help us get the message out about sharing the road, about what the behavior is that we expect for bicyclists across the state, and we're going to be offering for the winners of the video iPad, I think some cold hard cash, and we'll be announcing this in October at our annual Moving Together conference. As you can see, the videos are due on Friday, October 3rd. We'll have to pull a panel of interesting and cool people. We have an interesting, cool people at the DOT, don't we, to choose these? Apparently not, so we're going to have to find a few folks to be able to do it. I couldn't think of a better place to be than Somerville. You have a mayor who gets it when it comes to multimodalism, has been pushing hard on your behalf. I'm wearing green today to remind you all the Green Line extension's coming, and we're delivering it, absolutely.
Even though some of you are graduating this year, you're still going to have to do some work now. Lay the foundation, because it's really important that we all respect each other in a multimodal world that we're trying to create. The role of the automobile as it continues to balance more in line with more walking and biking. Hey, we plan on being the most bikeable and walkable community in the nation. I make no doubt that will happen. Doing great educational work to change the behavior and the general public is critical to that. So we're excited to participate in this, Mr. Secretary. We look forward to you coming back here in October and awarding the Somerville High School team with the first place finish. Thank you for being here.
All right, looks good.
Good work, all right.
Dennis, I wonder if kids who are members of Somerville Community Access TV will try to participate.
I certainly hope so. For more information, check out the Mass Rides Facebook page at facebook.com/massrides.
Mass Bikes is another great resource, and it has a page on laws governing bikers and drivers. Goes to massbike.org.
Now let's see what's in this week's Somerville Journal.
Hello, this week in the Somerville Journal we'll have coverage of Porch Fest, a preview of the upcoming school budget, and a look ahead toward Memorial Day celebrations. You can catch it all at wickedlocal.com/Somerville. Follow us at VilleJournal on Twitter, and you can always get in touch with me at datkinson@wickedlocal.com or 617-629-3385.
We end tonight with an update on plans for Union Square.
On May 8th, the Somerville Redevelopment Authority met to approve the short list of firms which will compete to be the Union Square master developer. Wigza Moore, chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee, explained the recommendations and said that much more research needs to be done.
But I think that the CAC really does believe that the next stage to narrow from 4 or wherever you end up tonight, that there needs to be additional investigation, additional understanding of working style and product.
Some members wanted to vote for only the top 3 recommendations and not US 2.
The 3 are okay. The 4th one is a question mark.
It was the feeling of the OSPCD staff, having gone through all the teams, that there was a very deep pool of ability and talent there.
In the end, board members were convinced to accept all 4. Assembly Square developer Fritt and its partner National Development, the Abbey Group, Girding Edlin, and a Chicago-based partnership known as US2.
There's no further discussion. All those in favor? Aye. We're unanimous. Thank you all.
The SRA vote was unanimous, but not everyone wants to leave the redevelopment up to the SRA and the Citizens Advisory Committee. On May 10th, a dozen organizations launched the Union United Coalition, coordinated by the Somerville Community Corporation. Board member Van Hardy explained why.
I wanted to answer that question about the difference between the Citizens Act and the Advisory Committee. The problem there is that that's top-down appointment. Okay, what we're doing is grassroots up appointment, so it's a big fundamental difference.
Individuals and organizations signed a pledge and shared their visions for the square. A major goal will be to get a community benefit agreement signed.
A community benefits agreement is it's a contract that's made between the community directly with the developers. And then what you try to do is get it into the master development agreement between the city and the developer so that it's a binding contract where the developers are held accountable. A lot of the communities around the country now are negotiating up front with the developers so that they can mitigate all these things. Instead of doing it at the back end, they're doing it at the front end. And that's just a better way of doing it. The other advantage is that it pulls the community together and gives them a voice in the development process. Rather than having to go through the city, they do it directly.
Bridget Breton lives in Union Square.
Quiero saber información acerca de qué van a hacer en cuanto a las viviendas, porque están muy altas de precio y las rentas están subiendo cada vez más y entonces me gustaría que hubiera un paro para esto. Hay personas que no tenemos unos trabajos donde ganamos suficiente para pagar las rentas que se están pidiendo en Union Square y pues estoy aquí por eso y también porque me gustaría que se creara un centro comunal donde los residentes nos pudiéramos reunir sin tener que pagar nada y podríamos discutir ciertos asuntos y a la vez también hacer alguna actividad que beneficie a la comunidad.
Ward 1 Alderman Matt McLaughlin also attended.
It's not my ward. I am interested in seeing local jobs and affordability for people in the square. And also, just like Assembly Square, Union Square is a big development area. So all the aldermen have an interest in what goes on here. The thing that's frustrating is in the Union Square instance, previous Board of Aldermen voted away our authority in favor of letting the redevelopment authority decide.
Now that the list of master developers has been narrowed down from 9 to 4, the process can move forward. What role will Union United play? And will they be able to pull off a community benefits agreement? What about the Community Advisory Council? Or is it the Somerville Redevelopment Authority who makes all the decisions? In the end, who will decide what the new Union Square looks like? We'll be watching from right there in the old firehouse. Reporting for Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Jane Regan.
In the interest of full disclosure, we should note that Somerville Community Access Television is part of the new Union United Coalition, but that the station's administration does not influence the content of Somerville Neighborhood News Stories. The administration and the news are separate.
Just like the separation of church and state in the Constitution. If you want to learn more about the 4 finalist firms, check out the interviews Kaya and Anderson of Greater Somerville did. They are on the blog greatersomerville.wordpress.com.
We wanted to know more about this whole process, so we invited Wig Zamore, chair of Citizens Advisory Committee, into our studio.
Wig Zamore, thank you very much for coming down to the studio today. And thank you for wearing matching clothing.
You're welcome, and I see you forgot the red shoes.
Yeah, but I got the polka dots.
Okay.
The reason I wanted you to come down here is you are the chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee, which is apparently actually called the Civic Advisory Committee. What is its responsibility going forward, and also how much actual power does the committee have vis-a-vis City Hall?
Okay. So I think our 2 prescribed roles were to get a short list from the original list of 9 master developer candidates, and also later and in a much longer process to host a community charrette with the chosen master developer and the full Somerville community.
So maybe we should explain what a charrette is.
Oh, sure. It's actually a term used mostly by designers who throw a lot of ideas together constructively to come up with a plan, a physical plan for an area.
And so is the idea that folks will be able to participate and actually influence the planning?
Yes, absolutely. I think the intent is that there will be a lot of interaction between the master developer team and the CAC and the Somerville community.
Well, that actually brings me to the other big question I had. There's a new coalition that's kind of coming to life, a little bit shepherded by the Somerville Community Corporation, called Union United. Some of the folks at that meeting say that they think the CAC is a little bit top-down. People were chosen by the mayor, and they want more grassroots involvement, and they want something called a community benefits agreement. What do you think about all this?
Well, I think that it's really good to have everybody who wants a say in Union Square's evolution at the table. And I think Somerville Community Corporation is a great group, done a lot of affordable housing. They're starting to work on jobs, and especially jobs equity for people with maybe mid-level jobs or entry-level jobs, which is an important thing in the community. They are a fully staffed organization, so I wouldn't consider SCC a grassroots organization.
Good point.
There are a lot of grassroots organizations in town. There's Union Square Neighbors, which is grassroots. Mystic View Task Force is grassroots. STEP is grassroots. But I think that SCC serves a useful function in trying to help people who might otherwise not be involved and otherwise might not have a voice in what's going on. And so I think they take that mission very seriously, and I think it's great that they're going to be one of the groups at the table.
Maybe we could end by you saying briefly, what is most exciting for you going forward, and also what do you think is the most important thing that everyone pay attention to?
With regard to importance, I think there are 4 or 5 things that are critically important in the redevelopment and evolution of Union Square. So the first thing for me, and I think a lot of people in Somerville who know the numbers, is to get our jobs in line with our local population. We have the greatest deficit of jobs per square mile relative to workers in the whole state. Without bringing the daytime population up, and I generally refer to upper story employment, whether it's research and development, could be high-tech, software, biotech, could be something else, energy, cognitive science, whatever. Without having that upper story employment going forward, our small businesses suffer and they're on edge all the time. I think Union Square probably has had among the highest bankruptcy rate or insolvency rate for restaurants the last 30 years of any place in eastern Massachusetts. And that's because we don't have daytime population here. The comprehensive plan for Somerville, which I'm a big believer in, looks to establish a balance between workforce and housing going forward. Add some housing, including a strong affordable component to try to help keep diverse housing and population here. Getting the benefit of the new Green Line station across the square, not captured in a single big development or a couple parcels around the station, but absolutely across the square and then to each of the neighborhoods beyond the square. Another thing of critical importance is to continue to nourish the small business community, the makerspace, the little startups that don't have a lot of funding necessarily. They're not blue blood firms with Wall Street funding or big venture capital, but to keep that ecology here as we add mid-sized businesses, that's going to be critically important. And then I think just the fabric, what does the storefronts look like? What do the sidewalks look like? Where is the public open space? And making sure that the open space added is not just landscaping for private development, but it's really public open space for everybody here.
We're also here in Union Square, so we hope that the CAC and all the other organizations take advantage of SCATV, use our studios, come in and have programs that the whole community can see. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
That wraps up this newscast. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back on June 3rd.
But don't just tune in once every 2 weeks. Check us out on Facebook and share your favorite segment or send a tweet at SCATVSNN. We welcome you to get involved with Somerville Neighborhood News.
What's happening on your block? Who's your neighborhood hero? What issues aren't being covered? Become a reporter or just send in your ideas. Call the SCATV studio at 617-628-8826 or write to news@scatvsomerville.org. I'm Tarsha Stack.
And I'm Dennis Stack.
See you around the neighborhood. You didn't do it right.
Yeah, you did it.